FAB-Racing. One of the riders that does do well in these weird, slippery conditions is Matt Birkin, and he can theoretically close in on what we thought was going to be a pretty insurmountable lead for Bernie Hook, and he'll be lining up in 4th position behind brother Josh. And Josh has said, I'm not helping him out at all in this championship, so that's going to be a fascinating one in this one.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with Josh Birkin starting ahead of brother Matt. Of course, Matt battling out for the championship with Bernie Hook, and it's been such a great season so far, has it not? We've seen the first ever female race winner here in FAB-Racing with Holly Harris picking up 2 wins so far this season. Bernie Hook's been dominant out the front. We've seen plenty of battles with the Birkins, and now even we have a new name in Richard Holmes-Williams, of course, a name we've seen in the Senior Minimotos in the past, but first time we're seeing him this year.
Yeah, and he'll be lining up on the pole position, so brilliant return for Richard Holmes-Williams. He'll be looking at picking up some decent points today and possibly stealing some away from some of the championship protagonists. But Richard Holmes-Williams, who was racing when many moons ago when you were racing, so yeah, he will be. It's a bit of an unknown quantity for everyone on the circuit. Matt Birkin will be thinking, I don't want to be racing you. I want to be fighting to the front. He knows that Bernie Hook, who may be not enjoying these conditions, might struggle a little bit more. As you can see, Bernie just going to the inside of Matt, just a little bit of mind games on the warm-up lap here.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're already trying to get into each other's heads on this warm-up lap. But there it is then, Richard Holmes-Williams, your new name this year, on first place on the grid ahead of Josh Birkin. Matt Birkin, brother to Josh, and championship protagonist in 3rd, ahead of championship leader, the number 0, Bernie Hook in 4th. Andy Whedon rounds out your top 5 on the grid ahead of Holly Harris in 6th. Nick Bennett, the number 711, is in 7th ahead of Paul Bayliss in 8th. Paul Nichols, the number 24, is in 9th ahead of Ashley Thompson, who rounds out the top 10 and the grid.
Can't wait for this one. Senior Minimoto action is always a lot of fun. We've got championship leader Bernie Hook lining up on 4th position alongside the only rider that can really steal it away from him. That is Matt Birkin, and it's going to be, we always say, Birkin bingo, Josh versus Matt. You never quite know what you're going to get from them. Often Josh finds himself on the deck more often than on 2 wheels, so we will find out how they get on in these dreary conditions here in Red Lodge for their first race of the weekend. The Senior Minimoto class, as they look to the lights, getting underway as lights out, and it's a great start from Holmes-Williams. Holds on to the lead of this one. Bernie Hook sweeps to the inside, but unable to get alongside Matt Birkin, who's already up past his brother Josh into 2nd position.
Yeah, and Nick Bennett also there making a move on Holly Harris a bit further back, so swapping positions all through this one. But Richard Holmes-Williams just trying to pull away at the front of this one, but Matt Birkin all on his rear wheel. So Matt Birkin ahead of brother Josh, and hopefully Josh won't be knocking him off like he said he would in the interview. You can see Clayton Edmonds at the side of the circuit, and someone just not able to start this race. But Richard Holmes-Williams with those long legs down into the far end of the circuit. Bernie Hook now just losing a bit of ground to the guys in front, just not quite able to stay on the 2 Birkins at the moment, and he's going to have to fend off the guys behind him. There's Andy Whedon in there, Nick Bennett, Holly Harris, all looking to attack, and that's Andy Whedon now who's made a move on Bernie Hook. So Andy Whedon up ahead of the number 0 of Bernie Hook. Bernie tries to get the drive down the home straight, has looked down into turn 1, tries to go the long way round, can't make a move stick, but it's Nick Bennett now who's all on his rear wheel, as well as Holly Harris just trying to get into that battle as well.
Yeah, and this is going to continue as we've got a rider down to the side as well. So unfortunately, bike issues are dismaying a couple of the riders. That's the 22 of Paul Bayliss and is unable to get that bike restarted. However, Richard Holmes-Williams is still leading this one away from Matt Birkin. Josh Birkin a little bit lonely at the moment, up in 3rd position. Then this battle for 4th place with Andy Whedon, Bernie Hook and Nick Bennett, all race winners so far this season. Andy Whedon, who ran away from me in the paddock earlier when I tried to get a word with him, so we'll find out later how his season's gone, but he's been really decent so far. He picked up 1 win back at Ella. He's been fighting very nicely with the likes of Bernie Hook, and Holly Harris has picked up 6 podiums on the season, so it's great to see him doing very nicely out there in 4th position. Just got to close in, because at the moment both the Birkins and Holmes Williams are starting to make a little bit of a breakaway.
Yeah, absolutely. So Richard Holmes Williams with the fastest lap of the race on that last lap, and Matt Birkin doing all he can to stick with him. But this is a really interesting battle for 4th place now between these guys, and it looks as if to me that Nick Bennett's just got a little bit something in the bag behind these guys. He's just trying to do everything he can to make a move. He's just able to, there he is up the inside there of Andy Whedon there. So that's Nick Bennett just picking off the places and now trying to take that 4th place away from Bernie Hook, and he just seems like he can just turn that bike a little bit better. He can hold those tighter lines, and just seems like to me he's got a little bit more pace than these guys. But we're just going to have to wait and see how that one unfolds. He's going to have to try and get back onto the back wheel of Bernie Hook now, as also Andy Whedon rather all over the back wheel of Nick Bennett now as well. So going to be interesting to see how this one pans out as well. So there's a battle for 1st and there's a battle for 4th brewing in this one, as Richard Holmes Williams sets the fastest lap of the race once more with a 53.8 and now has a 1.3 second lead ahead of Matt Birkin. So it's a runaway leader in this one for the race one for the Senior Minimotos. But what can and Bernie Hook do about Nick Bennett and Andy Whedon just behind? He has to fend off these guys, of course. Your championship leader, and here is your race leader, the number 126, Richard Holmes Williams. We haven't seen him so far this season, but he's come in and now he's blowing away the field.
Yeah, he's doing very nicely indeed. A 1.3 second advantage over Matt Birkin. We'll see what Matt can do to counter this pace that is being shown by Holmes Williams very early on in this one. Of course, 6 laps left to go, and Senior Minimoto action, we know it goes right down to the final lap. We've seen multiple races so far this season. Incidents, falls, spills, thrills all happen until the final corner. I think back to Lid at round 1 and round 2 in the wet, where we had 3 race leaders go down on the final lap. So that is how close it gets. Anything can happen. And we spoke to Bernie Hook, and he said, we want you involved in the Senior Minimotos. Get yourself a bike and get involved. It is a brilliant category to be racing in, and Bernie is proving that by being involved in a battle at the moment for 4th position between himself, Nick Bennett and Andy Whedon. However, once again going purple, Richard Holmes Williams at 53.631. Very nice lap time. He builds that gap out to 2 seconds. If you'd like to get involved and join this Senior Minimoto, and of course any of the other classes that we provide here at FAB-Racing, you can do that by going to fab-racing.co.uk and finding out all about what Fab can do for you, and equally what you can do for it. It's always good to see new people joining the paddock, and we've got a couple of new names here in the Senior Motos this weekend. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's brilliant to see some new names in this grid, and it's always good to see this grid growing and shrinking. But we've seen loads of riders in this grid. Of course, there's 27 people who've scored points in this championship this year. Only 10 of them on the grid at the moment. So yeah, we'd like to see all the dads back out there as well, because that was interesting to see, wasn't it? The dad race that they held back at Raura that went within the Senior Minimoto category. But now the seniors are by themselves, and it's Matt Birkin who's in a lonely 2nd place in this one, ahead of Josh down in 3rd place in this one, and Richard Holmes Williams, who's just flying out the front, just 53.4 on that last lap, constantly setting fastest laps of the race. Good round here in the dry, good round here in the wet, and is a real threat to all of these guys at this Red Lodge circuit. But it's Josh Birkin then who is in 3rd place in this one on the number 4, just trying to make his way through. Still 3 laps to go in this race, so where anything can happen. Very slippery conditions in this one.
Yeah, and both the Birkins in 2nd and 3rd position doing very nicely. They've built themselves a 10-second advantage over that battle for 4th place with Nick Bennett, Andy Whedon, and now Bernie Hook down to 6th position. So Bernie really starting to lose points in the championship, and of course he came into this weekend with a 67-point advantage with Matt Birkin in 2nd position. That is now 10 points he will be shipping to the 5 bike, and so that gap will come down to 57 if positions stay as they are. So it may still be able to be taken. We will find out. If, of course, it will all depend on if we can go to round 8 or not. But of course, for now, it will very much be the fight for the lead between Richard Holmes Williams, Matt Birkin, Josh Birkin in 3rd. Of course, that battle for the 4th, 5th and 6th between Nick Bennett, Andy Whedon and Bernie Hook is still raging on, like we usually see in Senior Minimotos. And Bernie always seems to just find himself involved in a battle. It's like he wants to be involved. He doesn't want to be leading or just disappearing off into the distance. He likes to be out there enjoying enjoying his time on circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we always see him battling out with someone out there on circuit, and it's definitely more enjoyable if you can have a battle out there with someone when on track. But you're going to want to be thinking he's going to want to be racking up those wins as well, because he does have a championship to think about as well. And it's one thing that's quite surprising so far in the Senior Minimoto race. Don't really want to jinx anyone, but no crashes so far.
No, there's not. And so I'm not quite sure what they're all doing. Obviously they're not trying hard enough, because as we could take the last lap flag, Richard Holmes Williams is now gone down. Wow, we just said no one had gone down in this one, and that's your race leader out, and that promotes Matt Birkin up into the lead of this one. What a curse there. Oh, I do apologise, but unfortunately that is Matt Birkin. Josh Birkin now up into the second position. Andy Whedon now up into the podium. We just mentioned that they've been very well behaved.
We're safe on that one, because it looks as if it's a bike problem for Richard Holmes Williams, so we haven't jinxed him at all. He hasn't crashed out. You can see him looking at the bike there, so I think that was more the fault of Holmes Williams mechanicking rather than our commentary.
Yes, of course. But the one rider that will be absolutely delighted with that will be Matt Birkin. We'll see, actually. We'll not jinx it. Anything could happen in the last corner. He's going to come up to it very shortly. Rounds the final corner, up to the line. He's taking another win. He looks behind him to see where his brother Josh is. And Josh is going to come up to the line to make it a Birkin double. It's a 1-2 for the Birkin brothers. Matt Birkin from Josh Birkin. Andy Whedon, can he hold on to position? He's coming up to the line very shortly. He's going to have Nick Bennett and Bernie Hook for company as they come up to the line. Andy Whedon does pick up the position. Nick Bennett does get jumped by Bernie Hook on the line by around about 9/10 of a second. A position change. Bernie Hook needing to reel in some points after seeing Richard Holmes Williams off to the side of the circuit. And unfortunately, if you are Richard Holmes Williams, he got 90% of the way through that one, leading quite comfortably. But Matt Birkin doing what he does usually and picking up race wins.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Matt Birkin. He was where he needed to be to pick up that race win. Unfortunate for Richard Holmes Williams, but he'll know that he was quite easy. He could have quite easily have won that one, but unfortunately suffers from a DNF in that one. So it's Matt Birkin then who took the win, in another Birkin 1-2 in that one. There you can see the two Birkins at the top of this race. Matt Birkin who took the win ahead of Josh Birkin. Andy Whedon in third. Bernie Hook, your championship leader, in fourth. And if we don't go to Landau, possibly our champion now. But in fifth place, it was Nick Bennett ahead of Nichols in sixth. Holly Harris down in seventh, with Ashley Thompson in eighth. Richard Holmes Williams, who didn't finish, comes up in ninth, with Paul Bayliss, who also DNF'd in 10th.
Wow. Well, what a result for Matt Birkin. He picks up 25 crucial points in this championship. As you say, we will find out if we go to round 8, and if not, then this championship will roll on, and Bernie Hook will need to be picking up some more points, because that is exactly what Matt Birkin needed. That's a 7th win on the season for him. Almost 8 after losing the lead on the last lap of race 3 back at Rara last time around to Josh Birkin, where we spoke to both of them earlier this weekend, and Matt said he just had to give him one. Josh said he bottled it, so we'll find out if that is the case. But it's very much going to be the battle between the Birkins. But Richard Holmes Williams in first position and pole position for this one. Josh Birkin in second, with Matt Birkin back in third position, who of course took the race win yesterday, making it a Birkin 1-2 ahead of Josh. Bernie Hook is supposed to line up in fourth position, with Andy Whedon, who's currently third in the championship, back in fifth position, with Holly Harris, who's just a point behind Andy, in sixth. Nick Bennett in seventh, with Paul Bayliss eighth, and then Paul Nichols ninth, with row 5 being locked out with himself and Ashley Thompson. Now, Josh Birkin, Matt Birkin, they have brought us some superb entertainment so far this season. Whether it be on two wheels, whether it be sliding on the surface on their backside, it's been brilliant fun for them. They both spoke to us on Friday, and they said that they enjoy this. It's all about coming here and just having a lot of fun. And equally, Bernie said, if you want to get involved in racing and in bike racing, then get yourself a bike and get involved, because we want to see more Senior Minimotos on the grid. And Bernie, very much the trailblazer for the Senior Minimotos, and doing a brilliant job of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, brilliant stuff this year from Bernie Hook. Fourth place on this grid. But you just see there Richard Holmes-Williams trying to get the heat into the rear tyre there of that Minimoto. Not sure there's going to be much heat getting into these tyres around this wet, slippery surface, but there is. Then they look to the lights and they're away for the first time today, and it's a brilliant start from the number 126 of Richard Holmes-Williams, and I believe that is Matt Birkin up into second place, but Bernie Hook out there on the number 7 machine. We're used to seeing him usually running the number 0.
Yeah, but he decided to borrow someone else's bike and see if he can do it on that one as well. He's currently in 4th position. However, it is Richard Holmes-Williams from Matt Birkin, from Josh Birkin, and Bernie Hook in 4th. They've already made a slight breakaway of the top 4. Down the back straight, can Matt Birkin look to the inside of Holmes-Williams in towards the S's section? Not quite close enough. The door is very much being hugged, and the apex line for Richard Holmes-Williams, who was looking very, very strong until that bike issue late on cost him the race win that I'm sure he would have thought he was nailed on for, because Matt Birkin just didn't quite have an answer for him yesterday, but managed to come through and pick up that win. Around the outside, Josh Birkin gets a really good run on exit as they go elbow to elbow into turn 1. Of course, the Birkin brothers, neither one of them want to help each other out. They're all about beating each other.
Absolutely so, but now Matt Birkin into the lead of this race, just dips underneath the number 126 of Richard Holmes-Williams. You can see Richard just wheeling onto the home straight, enjoying his racing out there in this senior mini motor category, but still, of course, still 8 laps to go in this one, so you don't want to be celebrating too early, especially after his misfortune yesterday, but right on the rear wheel of Matt Birkin. Bernie Hook also in there, normally number 0, but running on the number 7 machine in this race. But it is Matt Birkin, the number 5, who leads from the number 126 of Richard Holmes-Williams. Josh Birkin in 4th, Josh Birkin in 3rd rather, on the number 4, now in 2nd on the number 4, and Bernie Hook goes ahead of Matt Birkin as well. So that's Richard Holmes-Williams up into the lead, Josh Birkin up into 2nd, Bernie Hook up into 3rd, and Matt Birkin down into 4th.
Don't worry, I'm expecting to see these change pretty much every lap, as Josh Birkin's going to look to go around the outside and turning it to the inside and taking the lead in this one. Matt Birkin then takes the inside of Bernie Hook, so they're going to keep swapping positions. This is what you see in senior Minimoto action, and like I said earlier, if you want to get involved, this is the right place to do it. There's an issue for what was race leader Josh Birkin as he tries to get the bike restarted. Unfortunately for him, that's another problem for Josh Birkin. He was running really well in this one. He took a 2nd place finish yesterday, but not what he wanted at all. And I'm sure Matt's going to be smiling underneath that lid to see his brother just pulling off to the side of the circuit. He's now got Bernie Hook behind him, and Richard Holmes-Williams, who has disappeared. Oh, as you can see, Bernie Hook trying to look to the inside of Matt Birkin. They get on very well off the racetrack. Let's see how well they get on it when it comes to being elbows out side by side for the race win.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was really looking forward to having a 4-rider battle at the front of this race, but we've lost 2 in 1 lap. But these two going hammer and tonks at it at the moment between Matt Birkin and Bernie Hook. But it is still just 2 riders at the front of this race. Matt Birkin and Bernie Hook battling it out here for the race 2 victory in the senior mini motos. Of course, Bernie Hook already your champion. Josh Birkin manages to get restarted and back into the race, but he's a lap down on these guys. Is he going to try and catch them and knock Matt Birkin off like he said he was going to do?
Yeah, as I just saw Richard Holmes-Williams pulling into the pit lanes. Unfortunately, one of the riders who was involved in this battle, unfortunately, looks as though he may be out of this one. Really unfortunate, both Josh Birkin and Richard Holmes-Williams. That's the 2nd consecutive race where we've seen the pole sitter have an issue with that bike. However, it's going to leave us with Matt Birkin versus Bernie Hook, and this is a battle we're looking forward to. We're looking forward to seeing this one for a while. Bernie says he doesn't like being out there, and down goes Birkin. Down goes Hook at the final corner. I just saw he just got onto the runoff area, onto the curbs, and it just unsettled the bike, and just lucky enough for him, it's still running. He doesn't have to restart it back in the race, but yeah, a little bit of a mistake there from your current champion, Bernie Hook.
Yeah, absolutely. So just lost the rear end on the exit of that corner. Not what he would have wanted at all, but now back up into this race. So now it is Matt Birkin who's all alone out the front, has a quick look behind him, and I believe Josh Birkin has gone down again, but Matt Birkin is leading this one, and he is who we are watching at the moment, the number 5 of Matt Birkin at the front of this one. You can see there Josh Birkin rejoining and getting back into this race. So a disaster race for Josh Birkin, but Matt almost looking bored roared out the front of this one.
Yeah, this is... I spoke to Josh and he said, well, if I'm not falling, it's not any fun. So he's obviously decided this time around he's just going to go for it and see what happens. Unfortunately, the tyres not holding on to the adhesion that he wants to. However, his brother, Matt Birkin, leading this one. He's the only rider to not have an issue so far. And we will see if he can make his way around the final 3.5 laps of this one. Got himself some new leathers halfway through the season. And they've barely been scratched up because he's managed to keep it on 2 wheels. He's been picking up and racking up some serious victories in the last few races. He only really was on for a double hat-trick last time out in Rara. However, last lap gave up the win to his brother Josh on the last lap, and that is the only reason why we've not seen him take what would be 8 wins in a row, which is a stunning end. And you've got to think, if he comes back and manages to do the full season in 2021, Matt Birkin is well on for a championship challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. So with next season, the dates should be a bit more spread out than they were this season. So hopefully we'll see more attendances at the Senior Minimoto races, with the circuits getting a little bit easier to get to. But it is Bernie Hook now who has rejoined on that number 7 machine. He's on track with Josh Birkin, but I'm not sure if Josh is just a lap down on Bernie Hook at the moment. So these two together on track, but Bernie Hook is your 2020 Senior Minimoto champion, and what a deserved championship it has been for Bernie Hook. He's been helped a little bit by the fact that the likes of Matt Birkin, Will Howarth haven't been around at all of the rounds, but he's done exactly what he needed to do, always finished in the top positions, and that's what's brought him a second championship here in the Senior Minimoto class.
Yep, reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the Senior Minimotos, Bernie Hook, who should be on the 0, but he's on the 7 bike today. But yeah, a brilliant season for him, and he's currently in 2nd position. Holly Harris, we've not mentioned her. She's on for another podium. She's back in 3rd position, comfortably off of the pace of Bernie Hook, and maybe not the circuit for Holly. We've seen her do very nicely indeed back at some of the earlier circuits, but maybe Red Lodge not working for her. Bernie Hook has now got Josh Birkin, who is a lap down, who is swarming all over the back of him. Probably not what Bernie wants at all, but Josh just wants a fight with someone. Now he can't do it with Matt, who is making his way around the penultimate lap of this one, just going up to some lap traffic ahead of Ashley Thompson. And yeah, but Matt, brilliant race from him once again. Very, very stellar ride. Very calm, collected. He's going to go to the inside, and luckily you can see Ashley just has a quick glance behind, sees that the race leader's come through and gives him a wide berth. Matt Birkin just has to keep it on 2 wheels for about a lap and a half more, and he'll be picking up another win on this very, very good season. It's a shame we didn't manage to see him earlier on at round 5 and round 3, because as unfortunately that's Josh Birkin again off to the side of the circuit. It's really not been his day. Josh Birkin waking up on the wrong side of bed this Sunday morning. However, Matt will be circulating this final lap, looking at picking up another win on the season. He's looking for his 8th win to go, with plenty more that he picked up earlier on, and he has a quick glance behind and just notices he's completely alone at the moment.
Yeah, it's not what he would have wanted at all, but I'm sure he'll be happy to pick up 25 points in this Senior Minimoto race. It goes past his brother there. You can see Josh Birkin at the side of the circuit. It was a 4-way battle for the lead, but one by one they all dropped out of this race. Some of them rejoining, but unfortunately Richard Holmes-Williams forced to come into the pit. But here he is then. The number 5 of Matt Birkin comes around the final corner for the final time. It is going to be Matt Birkin that is going to take the race 2 victory here for the Senior Minimotos. He comes across and takes the checkered flag. It is Matt Birkin who wins race 2 here at Red Lodge.
Brilliant result for him. Ashley Thompson comes across the line, a lap down in 4th position. It's going to be across the line. Bernie Hook, your 2020 Senior Minimoto champion. He takes the checkered flag and already confirmed as champion coming into this weekend. Well, he's picked up a 2nd place finish, another podium for him. That's a 9th podium on the season for Bernie Hook. Matt Birkin, of course, came across the line first. Holly Harris comes across the line and she picks up another podium on the season and gets back up ahead of Andy Whedon in the championship, in the battle for 3rd in that fight between herself and Whedon and Josh Birkin. So advantage goes to Holly Harris for 3rd. However, it's Bernie Hook, your 2020 Senior Minimoto champion. He said to us yesterday that if you want to get involved, get a bike, get on the grid, he is the man to beat.
but it's Richard Holmes-Williams, who we've seen start from pole in both races so far, but hasn't finished either one.
No, had a bike issue in both of them, so we'll see if he manages to finish this one. However, the beneficiary of that has been Matt Birkin from third on the grid. He's managed to take 2 wins so far on the weekend, so let's find out what they can do. But it is Bernie Hook who will be the 2020 champion, and very much deserved from Bernie. But on the pole position will be Richard Holmes-Williams. Second position goes to Josh Birkin, who just beat Matt Birkin, his brother, to third position. Bernie Hook, your 2020 champion, in fourth place, with Andy Whedon in fifth and Holly Harris back in sixth alongside Andy in row 3. Row 4 is Nick Bennett and Paul Bayliss, and row 5, Paul Nichols and Ashley Thompson. And the Senior Minimotos, well, Bernie Hook has been saying that he wants people, he wants more people next season, and if anything has been like some of the action that we've seen so far this season, whether it be, we've seen a brilliant one here at Red Lodge, equally back at Lid. Go back and check it out. Make sure you, if you want to get involved, go check out the website and get involved. Of course, international coverage, TV broadcast, well, you get the lot of it here at FAB-Racing, and of course you get some brilliant racing out there on circuit with the likes of Bernie Hook, multi-time champion here in the Senior Minimotos. Matt Birkin, who is definitely my favourite for the championship, as you see, pulling to the side of the road there just before we get to the start is Josh Birkin. Has he got an issue of the bike? He's just trying to get it restarted. Is that an issue of the chain, it seems there, Trystan?
Yeah, he had a really unfortunate race last time out with crashes and bike problems in there. Does look like a chain problem. That is sort of the area of the bike that they're engineering around there on the side of the circuit. So he had a race 2 riddled with bad luck, and it's looking as if race 3 is starting off the same way, but he does manage to get himself back onto the grid. So we're going to have to hope and pray that Josh Birkin does make it to the end of this race. Equally for Richard Holmes-Williams, as they look to the lights for the final time this year, and they are away down into the first corner. Good start there from Richard Holmes-Williams, defends that pole position and takes the whole shot into turn 1. Some battles also further back, but it's Richard Holmes-Williams who leads ahead of Josh Birkin. Bernie Hook in third, your 2020 champion, and Matt Birkin, race 1 winner, on the back of that group. And we're hoping this time we can see a 4-way battle between these guys.
Yeah, we saw this in race 2. We had the sort of this breakaway 4 with the pair, or the quad that we all see here. But one by one, they all fell away and left Matt Birkin to pick up a second win on the weekend. But yeah, brilliant start from Bernie Hook there. Got a really good run off the line. Behind, you can see the battle going on. That's Ashley Thompson trying to go around the outside of the 22 of Paul Bayliss, and sweeping around the outside. Nice move there from Ashley Thompson as he uses a little bit of a wider line, takes more speed in, and a slightly slower exit, but he gets the move done up into 6th position. But across the line for the first time comes Richard Holmes-Williams ahead of Josh Birkin, Bernie Hook and Matt Birkin, who had a slightly poor start, but he's back on the pace and back on the back of Bernie Hook. And we often see these three battling out on the circuit with Bernie, usually if he's behind one of them, just pushing them along. However, this time around, let's see if Matt does the same to him and gives him a helping hand down that back straight as they want to close in on Josh. Josh and Matt have a little bit of a sibling rivalry off and on the circuit, and often wanting to help each other out, getting around, let's say, very carefully. But Matt Birkin, a little bit work to do as Josh Birkin, once again, another issue for that bike there, and the 4 just hasn't been working today. Such a shame there, because Josh was running really well in both race 2 and race 3, and a bike issue has cost him a chance at a podium. Picked up 2nd position back in race 1, but really this Sunday has not gone well for him.
Yeah, and I was wondering if Bernie Hook just thought there was a red flag there or something, because he slowed up when he saw Josh Birkin with his hand up, so maybe he was thinking that Josh Birkin was signalling a red flag. He saw him slow down, then he looked back and put the power back down, so possibly something there for Bernie Hook. But he's back now battling with Matt Birkin, and they've been swapping positions on this lap here, and it's this battle now for 2nd place between Bernie Hook and Matt Birkin that's hotting up really nicely. We've seen these two at the front of this championship all year long. Richard Holmes-Williams has waltzed in and showed these guys how to do it, because he's absolutely checked out at the front of this one. 4.6 seconds the gap was across the line from Richard Holmes-Williams to Bernie Hook, so he's just completely gone out the front at 52.3 on that last lap, which is a lot faster than Bernie Hook's 54.9. So expect to see him winning this one by a long way. He's done this the last 2 races, although they did manage to go with him in race 2, but hasn't managed to finish a race yet. So he'll be hoping to simply finish this one, but he's looking like he's going to be finishing it with some good points. But Bernie Hook now in second place in this one, your 2020 Senior Minimoto champion. But Matt Birkin isn't going to let him have any rest around this Red Lodge circuit, although Matt Birkin has a look down there. So is any problems for Matt Birkin? He seems like he's still going and still up behind Bernie Hook's lost a little bit of ground, and he was looking down a bit. It looks like he's losing a little bit of straight line speed. You can see him looking down there, so perhaps a problem for both Birkins. He's losing a lot of time now, is the number 5 of Matt Birkin. We saw Josh had problems and that forced him out of the race. Will we see the same for Matt? But this is your race leader, the number 126, Richard Holmes Williams. 5-second lead out the front of this race.
Yeah, shame for Matt Birkin. It seems an issue with the bike. He has a look down once again going across the line, so perhaps an issue for that bike. He's losing heaps and heaps of time. He's going to start getting reeled in by Nick Bennett very shortly, and Holly Harris is, as you can see, that's your leader. Richard Holmes Williams just navigating around some lap traffic, and as you say, he's not had the greatest of weekends. He's been out there in a bike issue on the opening 2 races, has put him to the side of the circuit, but out there and it's working at the moment, so he will be hoping for the final 5 or 4.5 laps left to go in this season. He can be picking up a decent result to give him some gratitude for turning up. But Matt Birkin, you can see cruising down the back straight there. That bike is not wanting to work at all, and that's the last way you want to finish off your season, with having to rebuild a bike.
Definitely some sort of problems there for the number 5 of Matt Birkin, because he's looking down, he's losing a lot of drive down these straights, so we'll have to find out what that was there. But really unfortunate for Matt Birkin. Like you say, not the way you want to end your 2020 season at all. Still 4 laps to go in this race, so it seems like he's trying to nurse this bike around to try and pick up points in this race and finish the final race of the year. But he's doing it at quite some slow pace, because he's doing a 1 minute on that last lap, and that is almost 7 seconds slower than his best time. And Nick Bennett, setting 56s behind him, will be catching Matt Birkin, so he could be losing that 3rd place to the number 711 of Nick Bennett, and very possibly Holly Harris as well, who's there in 5th place, just slotting in behind Nick Bennett. Looking at the number 22 of Paul Bayliss a bit further back in 7th place in this race. A bit of a lonely 7th for Paul Bayliss, and just being lapped there by Matt Birkin, despite Matt's technical problems that he's coming up to. And that is Nick Bennett now right on the rear wheel of the number 5 Matt Birkin.
Yeah, and Matt will be looking behind, and he's doing all he can to hold on to this one as they come on to 3 laps left to go. But it's looking as though all his efforts will be in vain. He looks to the left, looks to the right, and he can see the red bike of Nick Bennett is very much easily in sight of the podium, and Nick will be just eyeing up the right opportunity to go down the inside of that bike that's clearly ailing for Matt Birkin. You can see he's lost 20 seconds to Bernie Hook in 2nd position now, so that bike is circulating at a, quite considerably slower pace, 3 or 4 seconds per lap slower than anyone else on circuit. So Matt's done a good job so far to hold on to it, but it looks as though down the back straight we might see the red bike and Nick Bennett closing in. You can see Matt just looking over, just waiting for that moment. It's almost an inevitability at the moment that Nick Bennett's bike just comes past, sailing past, but Matt doing a good job so far, just defending him off.
Yeah, making himself as wide as possible, making sure there's no way through for Nick Bennett, although Matt Birkin did go slightly quicker on that last lap than he did the lap before, but still quite a way off the pace on that bike. But Richard Holmes Williams now coming up to some lap traffic. That is the number 93 of Ashley Thompson that he's just coming round on, but he's still got a good 8.9 second lead at the front of this race. And with 2 laps to go, you wouldn't bet against the number 126 winning this race. Bernie Hook, your 2020 Senior Minimoto champion, running around in 2nd, a very lonely 2nd place for Bernie Hook. We've been robbed of a battle once again in this Senior Minimoto class with those technical issues for Matt Birkin, and it's only a matter of time before Nick Bennett finds his way through.
Yeah, Bernie Hook, who took a tumble in race 2, managed to get on the bike and come back, but they take the final lap flag, and it is just Richard Holmes-Williams navigating his way around this 11-turn circuit at Red Lodge in Suffolk, and just a few more corners left to go, and he's just entered and exited the 180 at the end of the first half of the lap, and down the back straight last time around, he just popped a little wheelie as he went past the bike of Ashley Thompson, as he does again, once again popping a wheelie, almost losing the bike as he put the wheel back down, but celebrating in style as he's going to be picking up his first win on the season in pretty comfortable fashion. Got to the front and he's coming around the final corner. But you can see popping a wheelie once again all the way down the back straight is Richard Holmes-Williams around the final corner. Final time this time for the Senior Minimotos. Across the line, Richard Holmes-Williams is your winner in category. And across the line will for a brilliant result, Bernie Hook in second position, your 2020 Senior Minimoto champion. Congratulations goes out to Bernie Hook, as you can see Richard just stopping there just to watch the rest of the race happen, because across the line Matt Birkin is going to just get it. Does he get it on the line? It is Nick Bennett that snatches it on the line ahead of Matt Birkin by a 1/10 of a second. Matt just had a glance behind, and just using that extra drive off the final corner, Nick Bennett snatches a podium right from the grasp of Matt Birkin.
Yeah, big wheelie from Richard Holmes-Williams was there as well, because he is your race 3 winner. But your 2020 Senior Minimoto champion is Bernie Hook. He's been consistent all season long. He's been at every single round, and that is what has won him this 2020 Senior Minimoto championship. What a year for the number 0 of Bernie Hook. And he says, if you want to get involved, then buy a bike and get involved here with the Senior Minimoto racing at FAB-Racing.